I'm going.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Arnold. Welcome to Protect and Serve. In light of the most recent national current events, I felt the need to put together a forum where we could discuss, bring together some of the best minds in law enforcement, public health, and community to discuss the apparent breakdown in the relationship between police and community. Um, we have to understand, as a public safety specialist and career law enforcement officer, I've learned that in every relationship there has to be communication. Effective communication leads to understanding. Understanding alleviates fear, and with the alleviation of fear comes trust. Why do police do what they do? And why do they do it in the manner in which they do it? Why do people in the community do what they do? And why do they do it in the manner in which they do it? Well, in this forum, we intend to bring together those who are well regarded and capable of answering those questions, from law enforcement, the community, healthcare, attorneys, activists, and even the clergy. Tonight, we'll be looking at two incidents which are making national attention, both senseless killings. On one hand, we have murder, senseless killing at the hands of the police. On the second hand, we have a senseless murder by some people who thought they were the police. I'm talking about Breonna Taylor, who was a young woman who was killed in her Louisville, Kentucky home during a botched police search warrant. I'm talking about Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed by a father and son team while he was jogging because they thought he committed a crime. Tonight, I have people who I've worked with for years in the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, the Newark Police Department, the East Orange Police Department, who are very experienced in what they do and have strong connections to the community. I'm talking about retired Newark Detective Stephanie Treadwell. I'm talking about retired Essex County Prosecutor's Office Detective Anthony Cox. Welcome to Protect and Serve. Let's get at it. All right. Good evening, my friends, my fellow constituents in public safety. Tonight we're talking about police and community. We have two topics on the discussion list that we want to talk about, namely Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. These two cases have been making news for the last couple of weeks, and a lot of points. I think it's a good discussion that we should have. Let's look at Breonna Taylor. She was a woman who was shot and killed in Louisville, Kentucky, in her home by police executing a botched search warrant. It says that they forced their way in, surprising the woman and her boyfriend, who thought that the officers were burglars. This is coming from a lawsuit. We don't have actual facts here from the case. We're not privy to that. But what we're going on is the information that's out there and looking at it from a police point of view. And in the lawsuit, the family said that the woman and her boyfriend, they thought they were being burglarized. The boyfriend does what any good man would do, or father figure would do, is he tried to defend his home. And he fired at the officers in self-defense. The lawsuit accuses the three officers of firing blindly more than 20 shots into the apartment. So let's look at this. Let's look at the boyfriend. We know there's always three sides to a story. The boyfriend's point of view is people were breaking into his house. Taylor and Walker woke up and thought criminals were breaking in. All right. We know that a lot of times there are home invasions into homes. 1 o'clock in the morning is an unusual time for police officers to execute search warrants. I know if someone came to my house at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing what he did. I'm going to start shooting and busting off on him. He was awakened out of his sleep, okay, because most people at 1 o'clock in the morning, either you just fell asleep or you're deep into sleep. So you're really not aware of what's going on. And, people can talk to you. You might not even remember the conversation. And he probably didn't know it was the police due to the fact that they had a no-knock warrant, which for us, we know what that is. But just to explain to our viewers, a no-knock warrant is you don't have to make any noise or announcement that you're coming. You just take the door, you breach the door, you go in and do what you have to do. This is interesting. Taylor and Walker had no criminal history, no drug convictions, and no drugs were found in the apartment. Let's look at the police point of view. They say that her address was listed on the search warrant based on the police belief that a drug suspect used her home to receive mail, keep drugs, or stash money. does not indicate that the suspect ever stayed there or visited there. The warrant also states that a car registered to Taylor was seen parked on several different occasions in front of a drug house known to the suspect. The Louisville Metro Police Department said the officers had knocked on the door several times and announced their presence as police who were there with a search warrant. After forcing their way in, they immediately were met with gunfire. All right, Steph, I know that we talked about this before. Well, you have something to say about this. Let's hear what you have to say on this matter.
Well, first of all, just like you were saying, as far as their history go, they didn't have any history of criminal history, not even history of violence. Now, as far as the knock warrant went, from what we were told basically what we got from our sources is that their neighbors were witnesses and did not hear anyone identify themselves as far as police officers or whatever. The other thing is that we've got information that the suspect that they were looking for was already in custody. We do have something to back that up with. It was a tweet that was given up. Musa, if you want to throw that up there. We try to give you a little bit of information to back up what we're saying, but if you as they say, just Google everything, you'll see a lot of what it is that we're basically talking about. Now, to make matters worse, it was later learned that the trap house where the warrant was not only actually supposed to be executed was miles away from Taylor's home. And like Arnold said, that the suspect was already in custody. There you go. It was confirmed that many shots were fired. Once they bust through the window, they went in 3 different apartments. They got ballistic from 3 different apartments. So this was like an overkill for her to be shot 8 times when she was posed absolutely no threat.
Right. Wow. Well, one of the issues of we just had a police officer who killed a black female through a window, shot a very same type of situation, and was charged. I'm not sure what the outcome of the case was, but as police officers, we know that whenever you firing blindly, you're responsible for those bullets. Those bullets, once they leave that gun, if they take an innocent life, there's consequences for that. Granted, I understand that, it was a botched search warrant. All right. But I mean, Tony, you have some experience with planning raids. I mean, we've done several jobs together. All 3 of us, we've been involved with several search warrants. Just for our viewers, just maybe like shed some light on some of the things that we do in the preparation of a search warrant, some safeguards that we take so that this type of incident doesn't happen.
Well, basic safeguards, you do surveillance. Surveillance is key on any investigation as far as what location, the neighbors, you do checks in the community, what type of community it is. A house, single family house, 2-family, 3-family house, apartment buildings, if there's schools around. And secondly, the target, what types of vehicles that they drive, if they work, unemployed, whatever. But the most important lookup prior to your search warrant, do an investigative search to see if the person has been arrested at least 1 hour prior to your search warrant. And depending on if it's a knock or no knock search warrant, depending on the time that you go in, that you ask for it to go in. The investigative search on the actor that you're looking for will tell you if they have been arrested, and your warrant may be, null and void, basically. Had they done that, they would have found out that the person was already arrested in custody. Secondly, during your investigation, look at the type of doors that the person had, windows, any different, layout of the house. How many steps going up to the door? There's a lot of things that
Very descriptive.
You have to be very descriptive on it. Just because you see somebody's car parked at a location doesn't mean that they're operating that vehicle or that they're driving.
Right.
And just like you said also, when you fire your weapon, you have to know where that bullet is going. Because people are shooting doesn't mean that you have to shoot. And then if they're shooting, many times if they fired their weapons, who are they firing at? They were shooting through the window. You don't know where that bullet's going. You're shooting through a window.
Right.
So that's, very disturbing to hear.
Well, there's some things you know I like to point out too is one from when we did search warrants, we had to provide a very detailed description before the judges before he would grant us the search warrant. He wanted to know what color the roofing tiles were.
Exactly.
Make sure that it was the right house. Then in the plans, there's what we call a ops plan, an operational plan. In which it's going to tell what we're going to do, who we're after, how we're going to communicate that back to the command post as far as what we're doing. And one of the operations we did was in Newark, when we had multiple agencies, including state police in Newark. We had the teams go out. They went out to the locations, and once they got to the location, they called it back to the command center that hey, the person they were looking for was either positive or negative, and they were moving to another house. What's troubling is that the individual was arrested 10 miles away. Why was there a breakdown in communication that the team that went to the house? Now, this is what we call a secondary location. It's not a primary location, secondary location, because it's tied into it. Just by the way it said, it was tied into it because of the fact that they believe mail went there. They believe that there might have been a stash house, or there might have been some other type of connectivity to the main suspect. But the thing is that in the warrant, it never said that the suspect went to that house. So when we had secondary locations, the other thing is, we would go with a uniform presence. So people would know that, hey, we're in plain clothes, for our own safety. So, you don't know, other officers that might live in the neighborhood might see you coming there just in plain clothes, and all of a sudden, you're walking up there, hey, they might start shooting. And then you got a cop, going execution of a search warrant, cops shooting cops, that's a bad thing as well. But the thing is here, it was a no knock. So one of the things they're going to be questioning is, well, if you said it's a no knock, why are you, as the police department, announcing that your officers were there knocking on the door and announcing they're police when they didn't have to? And you only went there with 3 detectives. And then once you get the shooting, there's a crossfire. And I understand that there's possibility that the officer got shot, not by the Mr. Walker, but by friendly fire. Now, Steph, I know you had an incident where you were actually a victim of friendly fire. Maybe you could elaborate on it.
Okay, since we just got started, and I want to welcome all you guys, especially, Nicaragua, that's a long way away. Peru. Well, anyway, okay, we did our little nice thing. Now we just turn right on back and get hood. We home, I got a nice top on. You don't know what I got on the bottom, but I got something on. But I just want to say, I got shot. I still got that bullet in my leg. 20 years and 98, and it was friendly fire. And my partner did not directly shoot me, nor did he mean to shoot me, because it was only me and him and a dog there. But I ain't going to even get into that whole story. But it happened. And nobody tried to deny it, but it does happen. So, to try to start making up stories about, and Walker, they charged him with attempted murder.
Yes.
So that's crazy. That's something else that need to be investigated also. Hey, Irv, how you? Look, guys, y'all want to ask anything? Y'all want to throw something in here? We'll put it out for everybody to see.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the charge. Let's talk about one of the things I said opening up was we wanted to let, the situation, why the police do what they do and in the manner that we do. Okay, so most people will say the police killed Breonna Taylor and then charged her boyfriend with attempted murder on a police officer. why the question that we look at is why, if they know it was a bot search warrant, which this clearly has all the indicators of, it was a bot search warrant, why did they still charge him? Well, one of the things is that when you have an investigation, you have to make sure that you follow the investigation to the T. So I understand that the police were doing just following the procedures, because the worst thing you can do is go to the left or to the right instead of just following the book straight down the middle. You get in trouble when you go to the left or to the right. So what they did was they proceeded through to charge Mr. Walker with attempted murder because they believed at the time that he was the one who shot a police officer. Okay, now, as soon as it comes out that the ballistics evidence, the bullet that's taken away from the police officer is from another police officer's gun, I presume those charges will be dropped.
Yes.
And although it's a tragic situation, it's not a criminal. It's not a criminal situation. It's more of a negligence, because when you look at it, the protect and serve point of view is that when you fire shots blindly into anywhere, that's an issue of negligence, and that's going to be civil repercussions. There's going to be some administrative charges that might come down from the police department, that a couple officers might be reprimanded or disciplined through their process, through their internal affairs process. So that's negligence. Operational wise, one of the council members, I believe the mayor, said that he hopes that from this situation that there'll be changes to the Louisville Police Department in the way they conduct operations. I can tell you right now, there's going to be some changes out of this, because operational wise, this is what we call a mess, because the fact that you don't have communications with other units on the street during an operation is a bad thing. What does it say? And a lot of them, I'm not going to put all the blame on the officers, and just attack them, because one, I'm not there. We're not there. We don't have the official report. We're not doing the investigation. But one thing I will tell the public is that a lot of times we think that things should go a certain way based upon what we perceive to be operational standards. Like each department has operational standards. I remember as a police department, I had a child abuse investigation, and someone asked me, why didn't you take pictures? Well, the reason I didn't take pictures was because I didn't have film. And the type of camera that you gave me to do investigations with no one had that type of film anymore. They stopped using it. So you would think in 2020, with cell phones, with all types of apparatuses that we can talk to one another with, that there would be better communication between the officers in the field, the command posts, and the ones that are still conducting the operation, the investigating officers. So that's why one of the reasons why when we did our operations, we had the investigative detectives back inside the command post, because who knew the job better than the investigating detectives? All right. Am I right or wrong? Or
right. You have to go out there, you have to look at the thing, your target location. Then as far as getting an affidavit for a judge, like the judge wants to know what side of the house or apartment the numbers on, how many steps to it, what color's the door, how many windows, which way is the house facing. I mean, you have to put a lot into it.
Yeah.
And depending on your target, whether you get a knock or no knock search warrant, a no knock is usually for a violent offender. Basically, I'm gonna say half and half narcotics. You get a regular knock search warrant. You have to bang on the door, announce your presence. When you enter a residence, you have to have affidavit in hand, and you are yelling, screaming, police, 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 so that they know who you are when you go in. If you go in there, you saying you knock, this person thought the home was having a home invasion, he grabbed a gun to shoot. So obviously they didn't say police.
Right.
You wake up like this, sleep, you're startled. And I understand that you wake up and you're startled. He had to go in there.
Right.
And then once he fired his weapon, whoever's outside doing a perimeter just starts shooting.
Yeah.
I mean,
but we're human. We're human. So, we're going to respond. That's what we're trained to do.
And they couldn't say much about his gun because it was licensed, or else they would have threw something in the game with that.
Yeah.
Had they done an investigative search, they should have found out there was a licensed weapon at that location.
True.
Right.
See,
that one of the Lafayette and Hamlet. How you doing, sir? One of the things that Lafayette is making a good point. He said that it wasn't through he's saying it sounds like there was a problem with the affidavit and search warrant. Prior to executing, and you're exactly right. If you do your homework on the individual, listen. I used to know what time my suspects went to bed at night before I came back. When I was a narcotics detective, I wanted to know I had to get into his mind and into his head, and I had to think like him. I had to go to the places he went. I had to watch him. I would tell him after. I said, "Yeah, man, I saw you when you went to bed last night." He said, "What do you mean?" And I did. I saw him when he went to bed the night before because I wanted to know that much about him. And also because I wanted to know for my own life what I was walking into when I went in there. Exactly. So I wanted to know everything about it. So the police department, when you made a good point, Tony, that's a public record. If you're doing an investigation, when you get a gun permit, that's a record within the police department. One of the first things you do is look at your own CAD system, your own internal systems, and find out as much as you can about who's at that apartment. Newark PD has the real-time crime center. And one of the things that I learned when I was there was that there's so much information for an address. I said, man, I wanted to put mine, but I was scared to see what would come up. But I mean, they know so much about you, but that's good. And I commend departments like that because the more intel, we're detectives, we're investigators. That's what we did. The more intel that we collect, the better knowledge we have of our suspect and what we're getting ready to walk into. One of the things with executive protection, a lot of times they say, well, I don't know if I need you because, nothing has happened. Nobody's made any time. I said, no, the reason why nothing has happened is because I'm doing my job.
Absolutely.
I'm not exposing you to situations where your life will be threatened. I'm not being reactive, which is what police do. I'm being proactive, and being proactive, I'm doing my homework because I want to know everything that could happen to you. I want to know every scenario that can happen. And when we plan search warrants, one of the things we should do as a responsible detective is for your team. No one wants to go back and tell that spouse that something went wrong on a search warrant based on poor planning. And at the same time, you don't want to have members of the community become victims of this type of action when police are sworn to protect and serve.
Exactly.
Protect them. Listen, these two people were innocent bystanders. The police department has a right, an obligation to protect them while they're serving the search warrants, while they're going after criminals. And not all police officers wake up in the morning. The majority, 90% of us, don't wake up in the morning talking about, listen, I'm going to go out here and kill somebody today. I'm going to go shoot somebody. Man, that's the worst thing we want to do. We want to go home to our families. We want to make sure we do our job, do it well. Any day we go home and nobody got hurt, that's a good day.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? When you go home and you have pulled the trigger and let a bullet go and it shot someone and you took another human's life, that affects you. It affects you. It affects you for a long time. I grew up in a family. My dad, man, my dad was like Billy the Kid. He had a lot of kills on his record. Good kills. Let me say that now. Good kills. God bless him. God bless his soul. But we as children, we didn't know what he was going through. We didn't know what he was going through. They didn't have cop to cop. They didn't have those type of things where you get resiliency training and whatnot. You didn't have healthcare partnering with police departments to help officers get through their hard times. But one thing my dad told me, he said, you got to stay trained. You got to go to school, stay up on the latest techniques, stay up on the things that are what we call I'm in the corporate world. In the corporate world, best practices, because those things are what works. Those things are what's going to get you home and protect your pension and everything like that. So you don't want to do anything stupid or negligent. So that, that's a couple of things that I saw. I mean, the judge, I don't know why he gave out a no-knock warrant for a secondary location. You don't need it.
Mm.
Suspect was never listed in any reports, according to the lawsuit, of actually being in the location. Okay, so let's say he did stash drugs there. Okay, he stashed drugs there. Send a team, go there, knock on the door. Listen, we got a search warrant. We want to search. But when you go there and you go through the door at 1 o'clock, you come to my house at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, you might get some bullets too.
Exactly what I'm saying. But with narcotics, you should have known that.
Yes.
If they have secondary or third locations, you should know during your investigations where they stash their stuff at.
Mm-hmm.
That's give me. Also, what I learned from Lafayette Hamlet, from East Orange, co-worker, have a layout of the location that you're going to.
Yes. Yes.
Very important.
Yes. Architectural drawing.
Where's the bathroom? Where's the
engineering department, right?
Yep. So I mean, it's a lot of things they could have done, but obviously they didn't. But also with training, the officers have to pay attention to their training.
Yes.
Sure, they give it, but how some people are in life. Just like school, in school, you can teach them. Will they learn it? It's up to them.
Yes.
You're right. Training, you have to pay attention to it.
But I got a question. How is it if Walker fired, I guess, one shot, how come 20 more shots? It took 20 shots to do what they did, but
somebody called ceasefire.
Like somebody was scared.
Well, let me say this. Police officers, and you know this, when we used to go and execute search warrants, one of the things I've learned as the deputy director when I went to certain schools was that a lot of things about myself that I was doing as a narcotics detective and as a police officer that I didn't know. Yeah, going through a door, I was scared. I was nervous, but it made me highly alert. And because I trained more, I went through schools that taught proper breaching techniques and execution of search warrants and how to prepare your investigation. Yes, I was nervous. I had some type of nervousness. That was good. That's a good thing when you have nervousness because it makes you sharp and makes you stay alert. But there are some officers that truly maybe need more training and maybe need to reconsider this line of work because this is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart. If you're engaged in a gunfight with the bad guys, you can't pack up and go home because you got nervous and you're scared and you want mommy to hold you. No. And at the same time, someone has to be cool, calm, and collective to know that during a gunfight, that when you don't hear return fire coming from where you're putting those rounds at, that somebody needs to say, cease fire. Hold up. Let's reassess. And if we need to re-engage, we will re-engage. But everybody blindly shooting, and it happens. I've investigated a lot of police shootings with multiple officers. Man, it's just a natural reaction. You just start going off and just starting shooting. But that comes through better training. Better training will alleviate that. Better training. When I look at the ESU unit, that's the emergency service unit, or what people commonly call SWAT, their training is as such. They're going to neutralize the threat, and that's it. And that's the same way we have to be. We cannot be scared of the people we are hired to protect and serve. We can't do that. And that's what we have unfortunately, a lot of police departments. And I'm not going to say it's because they're cowards. A lot of people are just scared to react because of all the nonsense from the upper administrations as well, which is another issue. We'll have that on the next conversation. But I want to get to Aubrey because we got a lot to talk about there. This is a sad situation. And then one thing that I didn't like was that the mother came to the scene and no one would tell her what had happened to her daughter. And I believe as a police department, you have the responsibility to let that out, get that out as rumors out, eliminate it as soon as possible. There should have been some type of press conference. There should have been some type of communication with the mother to tell them, hey, listen, there was an incident and your daughter was involved in the incident. It was police action, and her life has been taken, and offer her the mother some type of assistance. That I believe in, and I think that they were wrong for doing that and holding that back. Holding that back from the mom was something they're going to really regret doing. All right. Hey, I want to move on to Ahmaud Arbery.
Oh,
All right.
boy.
All right. Ahmaud Arbery. Let me give you some background in case there's anyone who doesn't know. But Ahmaud Arbery was a black jogger in Georgia who was chased and gunned down by two white men, a father and son, who said that they believed that he was a burglar. And when they cornered him, he winds up getting into a struggle, and he was shot and killed by these gentlemen for nothing more than jogging. Apparently, he stopped by and went into the house. It was a new construction home, and just like a lot of other people, videos have been released that showed other people have come into the house or went into the house. He stopped in, took a look around, he came out, and then he started running, and these individuals decided that they were going to confront him. And during the confrontation, they took a shot at him, and they wound up killing him. So, and their defense was, the thing that made this so messy was that these two gentlemen went home, went to bed, stayed home for weeks, was not arrested because they hid behind the stand your ground law in the state of Georgia, which is very, a lot of states have to stand your ground. But also because of some improprieties of the district attorney's office. So, Tony, I know you and I have discussed this before. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this and give me your thoughts on this this horrible shooting here.
Sad. They should have been arrested, immediately. First of all, he was a retired police officer, the father. Retired like that, the best thing for him to do was be a good witness to any crime. Call the police, pick up the phone and call. Now, my thing is, they hunted him, basically. Hunted him down. Nothing, my personal opinions on that, that's all it was, a hunt, a manhunt. See somebody in your neighborhood looking at brand new construction in a house, come to find out the young man, Ahmaud, wanted to be an electrician. Obviously, he might have been looking at the way to, putting in electricity for the house. If you look at that new construction, he was interested in that. From them looking out, oh, it looks like he's breaking into a house. Yeah. Open construction, what is he doing?
Right.
But it's sad.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm sure won't be the last time. Hopefully it will, but we know how things go. It'll be another story one day that tops this. But this is something new that we have because it was recorded. Thank God.
Right.
It just makes me sad that a lot of things that have happened that weren't recorded, we don't know.
Right.
But
yeah, I just want to interject real quick. I just want to read the stand your ground law from the state of Georgia. It's under the Title 16, Crimes and Offenses. And it says a person is justified in threatening or using force against another when and to the extent that he or she reasonably believes that such threat or force is necessary. Listen to this: to defend himself or herself of a third person against such others' imminent use of unlawful force. However, except as provided, and they give a code, a person is justified in using force which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm only if he or she reasonably believes that such force is necessary to prevent death or great bodily injury to himself or herself or a third person, or to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. Now, one of the writers said, stand your ground laws in Georgia. Georgia is one of the states that have stand your ground laws. The basic idea behind these laws is that a person who is being threatened by another person's use of force does not have a duty to retreat or back down before he or she can legally use force against the attacker. The problem with this particular situation where these two gentlemen, father and son team, went against Mr. Arbery was they took the stand your ground law mobile. They got in their car and started chasing the guy. You cannot do that. The law states that you can only use deadly force against, the person in protection of yourself or a third person to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. Meaning that if you come in my home, I don't have to retreat. I can take care of business, and if I'm outside my home and right there in front of me is a threat, I can take care of business. I'm covered. There was no forcible felony by stopping and going into the house to look at new construction. I used to always do that. I always had a dream house that I wanted to see what was going on inside this house. The videos have been released where kids have been going into the house and looking at the construction and walk around. It's something new. You take advantage of it before somebody moves in there, before they put the sheathing up in the windows and the doors, and then you can't go in it. Then it's something different. But you're going there and you're just taking a look around. The thing that's interesting is that the father, Mr. McMichaels, used to be a police officer, and it was hesitancy to arrest him because a lot of the people went to the scene and they knew him from prior work. But he got fired because he failed use of force. Use of force tells you this law right here explicitly. So he could not pass the use of force for the department. And you and I, we all know that when you go to the range, that one of the things every New Jersey police officer has is use of force training. So that's what I heard here. That he failed use of force training, went out there, they pursued this young man. They did not have a legal right to do so, and they wound up shooting and killing him. Another young life, another young Black life down. And they thought they were going to get away with it until the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, thank God, came in and did the right thing and did the investigation and made the arrest immediately. It didn't take them 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They didn't recuse themselves. When you recuse yourself, you step back and say, wait a minute, I can't get involved in the case because I have a personal knowledge or interest of the individual. Well, listen, too many recusals. They should have called in, the district attorney should have called in the state right away. State came in, he put his best detectives on it, supervisory detectives, and they realized right away that, hey, listen, these two gentlemen should be arrested and arrested today, not next week, not tomorrow, not the week after. And that's what happened. And that's why we have an arrest in here. But the stand your ground law is something that really needs revamping. Stephanie had Trayvon Martin. Where's your tribute at, Stephanie, for Trayvon? Come on, let's get it.
I'll give it. Hold on 1 second. But you know what? While I'm getting the picture, what I need to know is why is it taking so long? Okay, here it is.
Oh, look at that.
I'm a cat lover, so this is my tribute to Trayvon. I keep it and I put it in all my training. Yeah, but why is it taking so long to bring? Because with Breonna, that happened March the 13th. Okay, and that happened when, in February? Yeah. Was it February?
Right. Yes.
We can't keep saying Corona, because of that. I mean, they talk about a whole bunch of stuff. You can't hide this stuff behind Corona.
Right. Well, one of the reasons why it's coming out now is not because there's a saying out there. I'm not saying Al Sharpton said it, but there was a discussion that they said it's not because they saw the tape that this has happened. It's because we saw the tape.
Yeah.
The public, the community saw the tape. And when the community saw the tape, they demanded that action be taken against these individuals. And with that being said, Trayvon Martin, that case was, I don't understand that. There's some things in law enforcement I just don't understand how juries come back with the verdicts they come back with. And it sends leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth, because when you and I and a blind man can see that the person's guilty and the jury comes back not guilty, that's a slap in our face. I mean, I understand cultural awareness. The reason why police, and especially the Black community, have such a hard relationship is because of the way that Blacks in the community are treated, not only by police, but by the criminal justice system. So there has to be a revamp. This case should have come full circle. It stayed under the radar. It probably would have been something that was gone, something that wasn't, adhered to. We probably wouldn't have known about it, swept under the carpet. All right. That would have happened. But the people came together and made a voice. They raised a voice. And when they raised a voice, that's what happened. Uh-oh. Fido's ready. She's ready.
That's a little dog.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Little dogs have done more damage than big dogs. I've seen big dogs.
Everything.
So always respect. It's not about the size. But so yeah, the thing is that that's one of the issues why it took so long. And yes, COVID and all of that is came upon us, and a lot of things slowed down. But as you said, Stephanie, this was before that. That was just and I believe the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is investigating. They said they investigate everyone. If you know anything about GBI, let me tell you, that's like they're worse than the FBI.
Yes.
Let me tell you, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, my family come from Georgia. Hey. Those men and women down there, they will find a roach in a roach motel with a warrant. All right?
Okay.
That's how thorough they are. They don't play. I used to think that I was, listen, you don't want any one of the alphabet agencies coming after you because they're federal. But that Georgia branch, you better watch them. So they're even looking at going after the district attorneys down there because, there seems to become some a little bit of corruption. And we have to be honest. Police officers have to be, the law enforcement community has to be honest as well, that there are some things that we have to adjust. Such as the reason why there are federal monitors in a lot of police departments throughout the country. Why certain people, including district attorneys, have been brought up, charged, and locked up for doing things inappropriate. I don't know if we can pull it up, but there was with Ahmaud Arbery, it's starting to surface now, a lot of videos of him when he was had a shoplifting charge, when he had a incident where he was in the park and they tried to tase him. I don't know if we can get that video up about him tasing him, trying to tase him. But there's something interesting that I saw in that video. Here it is. Cultural diversity training is very important. De-escalation training is very important. You have to, police officer departments around the nation are working on de-escalation. That's going to a situation where you can use your authority, but you try to bring the situation down. For those who don't know what de-escalation is. Also cultural diversity training. While we're looking for that video, I'm going to tell you a quick story. This is why cultural diversity training is very important. One time we had to deliver subpoenas. In the prosecutor's office, homicide squad, that's what we would do at night, in the night shift. We would go out and deliver subpoenas. Somebody wanted us to do that. One of the great bosses wanted us to do that. 11 o'clock at night, we're going out. So this particular night, I'm going out with one of my Italian partners, and we're going to a house in Newark at 11 o'clock, 11:30, almost 12 o'clock at night to deliver subpoenas. So we get to the door. What do cops do? We ring every doorbell in the apartment complex, right? 6-family home. All 6 bells are getting rung because we want to get in. this particular night, it was a sister who came to the window, no makeup, rag on her head, very upset that we woke her up, and proceeded to use profanities and say, "What the are you doing ringing my doorbell?" So we decided to say, well, I said, listen, we're looking for something. He don't live here. Ring somebody else's doorbell. But my partner, from brought up in Livingston and Cedar Grove area, he decided to call her the B word. Whoa. First thing I did was back up. Me being from Newark, I know you don't say the B word to a sister. You're going to have a fight. It's like you fighting Mike Tyson. She came down the stairs. I thought it was Jesse Owens coming down. And she wasn't a small girl. She was a big girl on the big girl side. She came down with such agility. I thought she was an Olympic star. Came to that door, got in his face and said, "What did you call me?" I, the great detective that I am, knew that it was about to be a bad situation, took some steps back and said, and watched. Mm-hmm. And he did a Ralph Cramden on me, hummer. I said, "Sister, we sorry. We just trying to get inside. We sorry to disturb you." She said, "Okay, I understand that." But him, so when we got back to the car, he said, "Why'd you step back?" I said, "Bro, let me tell you something right now. From the moment we go any further together working, do not ever in your life call a black woman the B word." I said, "I don't know what you call the women in Cedar Grove and Livingston when they get you upset. But one thing we don't do in the hood, unless we are ready to fight and die, is call a black woman the B word."
True that.
So the next encounter, he realized that because this woman was bigger than the other one. And he had some choice word, but he did not use the B word. So I say that, I always tell that story because understanding where you go is very important. There's some things that I would learn about Italian people. When you talk, they always, using their hand. So I thought the guy was trying to punch me. I'm ready to lay him out. But the thing is, that's just how we talk. After I learned that's how they talk, I learned that I don't have to be threatened when they're talking with their hands. I need to be threatened when they shut up and talk and not saying anything or talking very quiet, because then he's thinking about what he's going to do. So diversity training is very important in law enforcement because once you learn, I think we fear what we don't know. And when we fear what we don't know, we respond in fear as opposed to using good thought. So that's just one of the things. But the video, we couldn't pull it up, but it showed that there was two officers with Ahmad. And the one officer was confronting him, talking to Ahmad. Ahmad was in his car in a park by himself, probably trying to clear his thoughts. It was his day off, from what I understand. He was trying to clear his thoughts, and the officer approached him and was going through an investigation. The other officer comes on the scene right away, doesn't even know what's going on, and all you see in the video that he's trying to tase him. The taser didn't work. That's a bad feeling. But there was no need to come on the scene and act like that and to tase the individual, to tase him. So the fact of the matter is that with these two gentlemen who did this to Ahmad, is that one of the, I think it was the son, had his car broken into. Somebody took a 9mm gun. Of course, it would definitely have to be a black suspect because they didn't see who did it, but it had to be a black suspect. And when Ahmad came running through, they saw him go into the house. They saw him come out of the house. They didn't see him steal anything. He was jogging, for Christ's sakes. He didn't have any burglar tools. He didn't have anything from the property. He just was running. And when they saw him come out, they called the police. They should have waited for the police, but they decided to confront him and take the law into their own hands. And for that reason, GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, arrested them. Some of the officers on the scene that day realized that they were wrong and should have been arrested, but they didn't have the authority to make the arrest because the district attorney would not sign the arrest warrants. That happens a lot. Even in Essex County, you cannot, I don't care who you are, you cannot get murder warrants unless the prosecutor signs off on the warrants. There has to be enough probable cause in order for the prosecutor to swear out a warrant. So I understand. I understand being in that situation where you want to do your job, you know you have to do your job, you want to do your job, but the higher authorities prevent you from doing it. And I think that's why, Stephanie, it took so long, because there was a lot of stuff at the top. They were pulling their power cards, and these two gentlemen were allowed to go home and sleep for 2 weeks while a mother who lost an innocent son, he didn't do anything except stop and look at new construction, lost his life. So that's the tragedy of the Ahmaud Arbery case. Negligence and civil liability is the tragedy of the Breonna Taylor case. And when we look at these cases, us not having conversations with the community and talking about it is something that we need to get away from. We talk about transparent community policing. That's one of the things we want to do in this forum, is that we want to give the public the viewpoint or the point of view of the police officers. And we also want to give police officers who are watching the point of view from the public. We want them to understand. We have to understand each other. We have to have better communications in order for us to protect our communities. A lot of people want the police in their communities. I know when I came up, I had it not only because my dad was a police officer, but I have respect for other police officers who were in the community. I knew who they were. I wanted to be a cop because I knew who they were. I used to see them and saw what they did whenever there was trouble. Where's the police? Where's the police? And they would come, But it has gotten so bad because of issues on both sides, community and policing. And one of the things that we've gotten away from when we get into ComStat and writing tickets and quotas and all of that, it pulls us away from the community. And that's where we're at today. So I hope through this forum that we can pull everyone in. There's so many things that we need to talk going forward about, even how healthcare is a law enforcement issue. It's a crime issue. Proper health care is a crime issue. We're partnering with law enforcement departments, are partnering with one of the major hospital systems to bring about healing, not only to the officers, but to the community which we serve. So, I had a great time discussing a lot of these things and talking about getting your thoughts on it. I hope it was beneficial to our viewers. And I just like to give you the opportunity to have any closing remarks, starting with ladies first. Stephanie.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
First, I want to give a shout out to Dalton Price. Okay. And I'm so sure that he's gonna be on with us one day. You may be sitting in my spot.
Definitely. Dalton is well known.
But if there's any information or any subject that you guys need to talk about, you need to talk, because we need to vent, and communication is key. Plus, information is no good unless you share it. And this is one reason why we're trying to get all this stuff out here. Right. I swear, I love you guys. I love all of you. And I, even with the parents of the victims, what can we do? I can't even take their pain away, and this is a big issue for me, as I'm sure it is for everybody. Right. But we do need to let the community know and understand that when they show some videos, when the police are doing certain things, then you didn't see all the videos when you want to start coming and then creating a riotous incident and things like that. This is why we got to get together and we got to talk. Yes.
I just want to read two comments that what was being said. Lafayette Hamlet, he said, "You can't run up on a problem not knowing, and then when it starts going bad, claim you're standing your ground." Absolutely right. And that's exactly what happened here. Dalton said the same thing. Basically, he said, you can't start the fight and then claim to stand your ground. Exactly. You can't. If my father used to always say, if you can't beat the bear, don't jump on the bear. Mm-hmm. He jumped on the bear started getting the best of him, and he did what cowards do. They use a gun instead of using their fists. Okay. Let me see. There was another.
Lafayette said something about being scared.
Yeah. Benjamin Wilson said, he said this. He said, there's a difference between fearing for your life and being scared to death. He's absolutely right. Yeah, he's absolutely right. There's being scared to death. You shouldn't be on this job, because guess what? We go after the boogeymen. That's our job. People expect us to go after the boogeyman. You cannot be scared to death. Fearing for your life is natural. It's a natural reaction. And through proper training, through your proper training in your career, you're taught how to handle that fear.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, I've been in fear of my life in situations where I pulled my gun,
Hey,
but I didn't pull the trigger. Totally justified. Okay. So you're right. You can't be scared to death where you just disregard all training and logic and just start shooting everything up. You have to make sure that listen, you get paid to be fearful of your life. That's what we do as officers. We don't run from bullets. We run to bullets. That's what we get paid for. And your training gives you that courage to do that. Not stay home and sit on an easy chair and just collect the paycheck. There are still police officers, men and women, who are serious about protecting and serving their community.
That's right, because sorry for your interruption, because our service do not end at retirement.
Exactly. Look what we're doing now. Look what Dalton's doing. Look what Lafayette's doing. I mean, listen, this is what we do. It's in our blood. It's in our spirit. This is what we love being servants. We love serving our fellow man. We love providing a safe haven. We are the men and women on the wall. There you go. We are the men and women on the wall. So we stand on the wall while you enjoy sleep. Plenty of times I left my bed to go to work to provide the safety and protection that the citizens of this county and this state needed. And guess what? I was successful at doing my job. We thwarted a lot of crime. We kept people safe. We stopped home invasion. We stopped carjackings. We caught murderers. We did all of that because that's what we got paid to do. And we left out our house not knowing if we were ever going to come back and see our family.
True.
That's what we did. All right. We weren't scared of the boogeyman or the big bad. We were the wolf. So I just say I'm not going to get on my high horse. I'm not trying to, but I'm just saying a shout out to all the men and women in blue out there and all of the community people who are supportive of police and want to develop this relationship between police and community. We need you in order to do our job. We really do. We really do. And you have a right as a citizen to demand that the men and women who wear blue protect and serve you.
Do their jobs.
Do their jobs. Exactly, Tony. Tony, come on. Why don't you close us out? Because we're about that at that time.
I want to thank everyone for coming in. This every Wednesday, 6 o'clock. Bring someone. You know, everyone has a hard job to do, but certain times life shows us or wakes us up as to what's going on out here, actually going on. But closing remark, stay alert, stay alive, and stay healthy.
Right. Stephanie?
Yeah, if you have any subjects that you want to touch on, I know there's a website or somewhere where you can get a hold of any of us, because we want to put your picture in one of these little boxes. Yes. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Listen, the website and the Facebook page is the New Jersey Urban Crime Foundation. New Jersey Urban Crime Foundation. Drop in there. Drop us a line. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us what topics you like to see on this show. Understand that we listen. This show is going to be about transparency. It's going to be about real talk. Some things you're going to like. Some things you're not going to like. Some things the police are going to like. Some things they're not going to like. But you know what? You have to tell the truth, and that's what it is. Those of us who are police officers know that the underlying reason that the police departments were started was to protect and serve. So we call this show Protect and Serve for a reason, because we still believe that we are commissioned. We were born, we were ordained to be protectors and servants to the people of this nation. So I want to thank both of my guests. You'll be seeing them again. I taught them everything they know. No, I'm just kidding. I had the pleasure to serve as their captain and deputy director. Yeah. And listen, I always learned this from someone who was considered to be my adversary. Always pick the best people to be on your team. I always pick the best people on my team. I do. I always pick the best people on my team. That's you too. and a number of others that we're going to have on this show. So stay tuned. We hope to see you next week. As I said, visit the Facebook page. You're going to see what topics are coming up, and let us know what topics you want to talk about. We're here to get down and dirty and let you know the real deal, because we are here to protect and serve. I'm John Arnold. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Tony, get a haircut.
Nope.